decision to give. My husband is the Herzog, and he always reminds me there's an arrow in it. So, because like you said, Herzog, it's Herzog. He was in a Peace Corps in Ghana. He's from Marshall, Minnesota. Came to the Peace Corps. That is how we met. And 10 years later, I moved over to Minnesota. We got married, and I moved over to Minnesota. And I was just telling Patrick, should I say Patrick that when went to the American Embassy to get my visa to get to the United States, he says, "Have you been to Minnesota before?" And I said, "No." And he looked at me and he says, "Good luck." It was cold. Anyway, I started House of Talents based on my own childhood experiences and the opportunities that have come my way to be here today, thinking that all of us come into this world with a God-given talent, but we might not necessarily live it based on policies, circumstances in which we find ourselves where we are born, not because our talent are not worthy, but there are a lot of things that stop us from getting there. I grew up in a village. I'll give you just a quick overview of how I got to here. The earliest days of my life I spent in someone else's garage with my siblings. That was what my parents could afford while my dad went on to get an education. And I do not recall the garage having windows, but what I do recall is my mother giving us the gift of imagination, of moving beyond our situation and finding and allowing ourselves to dream and see that which is possible for us, which, we couldn't see within our circumstances. So I've always been a dreamer, but I do remember to come down to earth. It can be a lovely place out there. So what my dad did get his education, we moved to the village where he went to teach. But while he was in college, he had met an American anthropologist who he had become friends with. So he was going back to the United States and came back to visit us. And within a short time when he visited us, I was able to negotiate with him that I wanted to be able to speak English like him. Like I said, I'm a dreamer. So I have no concept of what I can do and can do. Because when you dream, there are no boundaries. You don't have boundaries until you start actually putting things in practice. That is where you see the boundaries. Like when I said House of Talents, I didn't think through shipping until I realized shipping is what I do for a living. So sometimes it's good, but my husband, and it's good, I tell my husband, he thinks through things, he builds steps, so he has to think through things. I sell baskets, I can't possibly kill anybody by not thinking through everything, but it does make life easier when you think through things. But within that short time, I did tell him that I wanted to be able to speak English like him, and I also wanted to be able to read. And what he said was, sure. And I had a plan. I had already seen a book that had photos in it, and I didn't want to go overburdened with a book with no pictures. And that book is called Adventures of Tintin. And it has great illustrations, a guy with a tough hair with his dog, and go around solving problems. And so that is how I got to read, and that opened up a world of opportunities to me. And over time, it became very clear to me that education is key in helping people get there. But education is also an investment that takes time for it to produce results. And so I wanted to tell people stories to let people know that people who are poor don't choose to be poor. They are poor because of one, where they find themselves, the opportunities available. Because if I can come from that environment to go on to work for Deloitte and Touche Consulting, start a beach resort, come to the United States, have an MBA, work for Target. Surely, what about all the other people I sat in class who were better in education, who were better in test or class than I was? Those are all the talents that have been wasted. So I wanted to find a way where we can tap into the talent without diminishing the human being that we try to help. Because oftentimes, when people come to the villages to help us, the solutions they bring merits the circumstances in which we are, not our inspiration or potential. Because if you look at the potential, then you can dream bigger. But when you look at this poor person who can read, who's barefooted, is going to the well to get water, then somehow the solutions people bring shrinks. And it just becomes a pittance, something that they think that looking at who the people are, that is all they can manage. But what I want to challenge people is that we all have aspirations. And we shouldn't use people's physical conditions. So far as people can dream, we should figure out what it is that they want to be, and then we become a necessary collaborator and partner to help them poor. So that wasn't kind of a quick summary. That led to House of Talents. At House of Talents, what we seek to do is to alleviate poverty by connecting artisans in developing countries to consumer markets worldwide. So I am just collaborator. And the way we do it is empowering the talented poor by bringing their products to market, telling a compelling story, connecting the world with one-of-a-kind product, and also telling the context within which people work. Africa is hot, so if you see a drum, somebody making a drum with their shirts off, it's an entirely different story. The drums, what are the stories behind it, baskets, so that people kind of understand what goes into how a product comes to market. I think that is fascinating. It introduces a culture within which people work. And what we try to do is build a long-term relationship with our artisans, understanding what their needs are, not what we think the solutions are. And then also providing a timely feedback and letting them know what is working and what is not working. Taking them as complete, treating them as whole and complete business people who also want to do well, and challenging them, bringing the issues on the market to them, and having them be part of the people who solve the problem, not just me. And then also provide a fair price. They know what it takes to make a basket. I will have to figure out how long it takes, but oftentimes, because of the fact that they haven't made much money for what they are, they don't really put value on the fact that they can make a basket. So I do help them through the process of what does it take, what does it cost for the grass, the color, and then your time. The time part, I think, is universal. Putting value on our time. If we are supposed to, kind of cost all the things we do and pay ourselves, we probably will go bankrupt. So there is a medium where it's just, I try to help them get that this is what the market will pay for, and guide them to determine a price that they think is fair. And then I bring it to market and see whether the consumers are willing to pay for it. And if not, then either we abandon the product or we look for ways to make it affordable, and so they can make money doing that. What we have been able to accomplish by collaborating with the artisans is providing health insurance for all the artisans, putting libraries in the communities we work, providing mosquito nets to the communities. And so what I do is go into an environment and try to figure out what it is that we need to do to get people to get there. And I want to quickly go through the slides so that I can shut off and we can put it into a conversation. So I just want to give you a broad overview of what we seek to do. And then I work in the West African region. I work in places where I speak the language, because when I work with the poor, there is a lot of things that can get lost in translation. They know they're helping you, and a gesture, the way someone will look at somebody, you have to be very attentive to understand what is going on, that what you are being told is not necessarily what is meant. So you have to I have to understand what is going on for me to be able to help people, and not create a situation where you put somebody as an interpreter who then because you're dealing with a lot of money, you can create a situation that cannot be necessarily good, because you are now bringing another element of someone who can actually, I don't want to use the word oppress, but can also temper the ability for the people to really do well. So I work in Mali, I speak French, but I don't speak the local dialects, the Bambara and other languages, and I work with a British lady who's lived there for 40 years and also is in working with the poor, so I do trust her wholly to work with her. But I come from Ghana, so that is where I started. I wanted to make all my mistakes, understand what I did right, what I did wrong before I went on to other countries. And also I'm looking to see whether we can put in a prototype so that if somebody, I get a lot of emails, I just got an email from the Philippines of somebody wanting to help me. I can be everywhere, but if I can say this is what we did, and if since you come from the Philippines, you understand the language and understand the culture, this is how we did it, so why don't you fine tune it to see whether you can have it work for you in the Philippines. And so that is what I would like to do eventually, so that people in the different cultures can do what we are doing or even make it better to help the poor. This is some of our products. We make bicycle baskets, drums, and these are ironwork. So these are discarded bottles and scraps of metal. This is from a gin, and this is milk of magnesia. And we collect all these bottles, and we have Guinness, beer. They all seem to be either medication or alcoholic beverage. And we use those to make functional products, and then we bring it to market. And this is a tapestry of the artisans I work with. That's me. We've been featured in a lot of magazines. We've been featured in the New York Times, Big Pregnancy, House Beautiful, Bicycle magazine. So what I do is I take all these magazines when I travel and I show it to them. I show it to them, and actually in one of the magazines, bicycling magazines, our basket was next to a Mercedes-Benz. And so they were all kind of looking at a car. But what I wanted them to see is that you are here not because people have pity for you, but it's because you make a beautiful product and you are being recognized for the work you do. Because when you work with the poor, you also have to change the mindset of how they perceive themselves. Because growing up, the experiences that when you're poor, the solutions are always told you. You are never asked what it is that you want. Because sometimes I feel people perceive that if you knew what you wanted, you wouldn't be poor. And so you have to kind of get people into the place where they are making the decisions on themselves, also trying to knowing that they do have something that all of us don't have. And they are being recognized for that. That is our soap. The guy who makes our soap, when we started, he was making, raising guinea fowls, doing all sorts of, very industrious, doing all sorts of things. 6 months into working with him, he called me and said, "Hey kid, I applied to medical school and I've been accepted. Like, who's going to make our soap?" So, soap is very important, so you can go to medical school. So I did the math and I realized that if everything continues the same and the market doesn't grow, if things stay constant, it's going to pay for 40% of my tuition if I get accepted to medical school. So I applied and I got accepted. So I have been in business for 5 years. It's been in medical school for 4. And we are looking to see when he graduates whether we can, put together maybe a container equipped with a hospital for him to be working in that community, because he knows the community better, and he knows what the needs are, and then he goes on to do even bigger things there and more income. So we are always thinking of what if, rather than we've just solved this and therefore you want your own. And we've been in business for 5 years. We work in Europe, Asia, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, United States. And in Europe, we work in Berlin, Switzerland, Estonia, France, Spain, England. So we have really gone out. I've been pleasantly surprised as to how well we've been received in the United States, where I know him. We work with Crate and Barrel, Anthropology, Urban Outfitters, Gold Violin, and other small boutique style stores, and then QBP, Quality Bicycle Product, who is a distributor of bicycle accessories and bicycles. And then in Canada, we also have a distributor. In Japan, we also have a distributor. And then we also have institutional partners, which is we make baskets for the United Health Hospitals, and then sometimes we do make products for female starving children. And then that is me. I taught myself to read at the age of 10. Worked for Deloitte and Touche Consulting, got married with a Target Corporation, Thomson Reuters, before I got the courage to do what I said I was going to do. So, with that said, what I wanted to do was, if I am going to help bring the artisans' products to market, we will have to sell a ton of stuff before people truly will get out of poverty. I don't even know whether people will get out of poverty in a lifetime. And so what I wanted to understand is what kinds of things do we have to do collectively to sustainably get people out of poverty. Education is important. It is long-term investment. Health is important. There are all sorts of things that I thought needed to come together so that it creates the momentum to get people out of that deep hole, to get on level ground for us to make gains. And so, the immediate sort of problem was people needed money. Money is the medium of exchange, and that is where we also build trust. And so, where I started was work with people who are already making things. And the criteria was 3. Are you obsessed with getting out of poverty? Are you community oriented? And then can you be trusted? And the way I did the trust part is that I have a fear of height. And this is not what they teach you in business school. You have to have something more concrete. But I have a fear of height, so I kind of try to sense, if I am stuck on a mountain top with this person, can I depend on them to bring me down? It's a vulnerability part, because you're going to be wiring a lot of money to a group of people, and you have no assurance that it will be used for what it is going to be used for. So I have to get a sense that I can work with this person, but I don't have eternity to build a relationship before I start giving them money. So what I do is, my tolerable loss level is $200. And when you give people money, you immediately get a sense of who they are. Whether they're going to lie, or they're going to stretch it, or they're going to get more people involved. And so what I do is I give $200 with the mindset that if I lose it, it's fine for me to get to know whether this is a group of people I'm going to work. And everyone, I don't just give it. I have to get a sense that, one, I want to work with you before I go. I'm not going out there and kind of giving $200. So there should be conversation. We do something that I think I can bring into market, that it is also community-based. And the reason why we do community-based is that we are thinking about poverty. And if you take one person, yes, surely they will do well. But if you go into a community, you create something called a multiplier effect. One, I can go to Crate and Barrel and say, I can take an order for 1,000 baskets because the whole community is going to be able to do it. And we can hit our targets rather than have one person sitting around trying to make 1,000 baskets. When you send money to the basket weaver, they are going to buy food. They are going to take their children to school. And so the teacher is going to get money. They are going to make school uniforms. The seamstress is going to make money. We are going to put all the baskets in sacks. The guy who sells us is going to make money. The transportation guy is going to make money. So by just buying one basket, you create a whole form of economic activity in a village. And when you do it in a village, the impact is much quicker than when you're doing with a small group of people. And that is why I choose the community base, because I don't have limitless resources and I needed to work my money to work harder. And also it's much more easier, it's kind of contained because you work in a village, to be able to help people and get to understand what their needs are. So there is that. And then health. What we do is we provide health insurance for all the artisans we work with, because that is, if there's a health insurance system, Mali doesn't have it, Ghana has it, so I can buy the insurance for them. But when it's a private hospital system, then I can't help people, because then people have to be sick first before they go to the hospital and then you pay for it. But when it's health insurance, then I plug in and I buy cash. So far we buy health insurance for around $1,500 because we need receipts for all of them, that's how I know. And we buy it for their children, for their whole family. But we buy it for 1 year. And the reason we buy it for 1 year is that I'm providing you access to market, okay? And the cost, what I pay for one bike basket will pay for 1 year of health insurance. And so the immediate people who haven't used the hospital are not going to, even though you have to kind of explain this to people to say that it is doable and this is how you're going to do it. But people who are not used to going to the hospital are not going to do that unless you let them see the benefit of using the hospital facilities. Some are also intimidated to go out there and see this nicely dressed doctor to say, I have to pull out my feet and there's the sore. And so you have to kind of coerce people to kind of use that for themselves, and that is why I bought a health insurance for everyone. And then they save. And what I tell them is that when you get off, you create a space for the next person to join. So it becomes a badge of honor for people to say, I am getting off so that my neighbor can get the health insurance. And then we also put libraries in the communities in which we work, because education is what gave me the opportunity. And I don't get into the construction of buildings. What I do is, you give me a room and I fill it with books. Because Ghana, most of the places I work is tropical. We don't have this crazy weather you have here. And it's always sunny. You sit outside, you sit under a tree, you open the book. And so that is how we do it. And then I also do other things like, I know that the WHO had given mosquito nets to people in Ghana, and so, but the people in the village didn't know that. So I negotiated. I went to the Ministry of Health and said, this community needs mosquito nets, and I know you have it to give to them. I will personally take it and go and distribute it to them. Or you can go and tell the newspapers you did it. And they did go and tell the newspapers they did it. And so it is, how do you get other people to support you and have them take credit for it, even if they didn't think about it, so that we all can move people forward. So by doing these things, health, education, and literacy, we have tremendously made progress over a period of 5 years. And I'll say the way I have done this is because, one, I grew up in those communities, so I know how the dynamics in this environment and how things work. Sometimes you can get stuck of, we need a legal system to make sure that this money are being sent to you. It works in the United States, but it's not going to work in a village where the people don't even have bank accounts. Another thing we do, we ask them to open bank accounts, because I don't want people to know that they have money in their homes and they're going to be robbed. And also, it creates a sense of dignity that I can go to this place and take money. You know, society has a way of making you part of it or keeping you outside of it. And these are some of the little things that makes you part of society. That, yes, I do have money. And then also changing the mindset. And I'm going to use the basket weaving community as an example, because they're the largest group. Basket weaving is considered a vocation of the poor. And so to have people change their mindset about this is to have everybody sign their name on their product, because artists sign their work. And I want them to see themselves as artists. So every product you buy from us, you're going to find the name of the person's name on it. And a lot of them didn't know how to write their names. So that, one of the women said, it just did something to me to know that someone is going to know there is a human being who made behind this product, and that person's name is me. You know, she didn't care that they didn't know her, but he said, it just made me feel so good. And now when I make the baskets, they're so pretty, I don't want to part with them. Actually, I was going to bring a basket, I forgot. Anyway, there's this basket I was looking at yesterday. I'm like, I don't know how she made this basket. But those are the ways that we are using to focus towards poverty alleviation. And this year, the project I'm going to be working on is actually looking at how we can build, now I'm going to get into construction, community units, using the materials in the area, not using cement or anything but mud, because that's how they build their houses. But can we make this mud into bricks and build something solid and put in portable, compostable toilets? Because people go into the bathrooms in the forest, and we want to find a better sanitation, to stop diseases. If there's cholera, that is a sure way to spread it. And then compostable, because it's a dry area, so what we're going to do is, kind of find, I'm still thinking through it, separate it and use the urine to stir off ammonia for their crops, and use the feces for the compost and stuff, and then put it all under one roof. But this has come because I've been working with them, and I think this is now relevant in this next stage. So we are going to have a community unit where people can weave their baskets, where now we can move the library in so that they can be watched, because they are one. And then their bathroom is also in there, because somebody did say, and I haven't confirmed it, that sometimes the girls get raped going into the forest because they take off their clothes to do that. I had never thought about that. And so if we could do that, then it becomes a kind of a hub place where people gather, people do things, people get to know, solve problems, and then, harness water for them, put in a well. So it's still in initial stages, and I'll give a report next year as to where we are. But what I always say is that let's challenge ourselves to think big in helping with the artisans, believing that, we are all human beings. We all come into this world with a song, but we hope that everybody will be able to sing that song. And with that, I'll stop here and have you ask questions.
Can I ask Kate? I mean, it seems as though, we've seen baskets.
Yes.
That's not a new concept.
Yes.
What's different? What's so different about yours? Because it seems like you've had more success than.
So generally, when people go into the villages to help the poor, they bring what they make. So you have a lot of house parties. I didn't want my friends to start running away from me because now you have to buy another basket. And you're buying things you don't need, but you feel sorry for them. And so I also move away from the sad story. I'll get to your answer. I move away from the sad story because that also diminishes the person. The story is important, but the product has to be functional. It has to be well made if we want people to compete and for them to have that self-worth to be able to build the lives they envisage for themselves. But when we start selling trinkets and I don't want to say useless things that people really don't need, but we slap a lot of story on it and how these people are going to die if we don't help them, I think it's a disservice. So what we do is to say, this is what you do. But if I bring this, we can only sell it to your teachers, your favorite grandmother, and then that's it. How can we create a product that everybody's going to think it is cool? And we're going to get a lot of people buying it. So while we were in this process, a friend of mine who travels with me from California says, what about bicycle baskets? Like, the grass can take water, so we can just make bicycle baskets. We have to look at the property. The grass can take water. The color would fade over time, but the colors do not run in rain. And my husband was thinking, well, if we make the rim of the basket thick enough, it should be able to take the weight. My husband is an engineer, so we get everybody on board. Because we also don't want to create a product that doesn't work. So it's a nice idea, but is it going to perform the functions that you intended it to be? So then we go out there and then we draw stuff up. We bought a bicycle actually for them, and then we drew it on a piece of paper and says the holes have to be here, which was okay. So we went through all sorts of shapes of baskets, and finally we got the basket. And it has to be a certain height because bicycles are standard. So now we are moving from all shapes of baskets to now the height has to be the same. So everybody has to get a tape measure. So now you are getting people to think differently and do things differently the way they normally would. Of course, there's going to be resistance, right? So initially it was, could you do this? And then when it wasn't going anywhere, you have to do this. And so we went from, appealing to their nobler instincts to, kind of asking that they do it. Because if you do this, a lot of people trust me. People are going to buy it. Instead of selling hundreds, we're going to sell thousands. So some people came along and did it. And that is what opened up the markets for us. So that is how come we ended up in Europe, in all those countries, because people ride their bikes everywhere. And that also allowed me to meet my mission, which is to alleviate poverty by connecting artisans in developing countries to consumer markets worldwide. So my mission drives how and what products we bring to market. If I want to create a product that everybody wants universal, one is art. And people interpret art as a universal language. But also the product has to be universal. And out of it, we've gone on to make picnic baskets, which we're going to introduce this summer. Because all the samples are comes, people buy them for wedding gifts. I didn't even realize that. But that's what picnic baskets are. And then we've moved on to laundry baskets. And so out of it, now we are creating products that people want, not what just they make, and then we beg you to buy. And if you have time, you should stop by my showroom. It's amazing the things. I sit down there and I wonder how people make this. Another thing too is that in order to get people out of poverty, they have to have an income they can count on. All of us need to know that this paycheck is going to come in for me to be able to make plans and dream. And so we have a diversity of a portfolio of clients. We have the big crate and barrels. We have the small boutique styles industry shops. We have distributors, and we have institutional partners like United Health. What this does is that United Health, we supply them baskets every month. And this helps the artisan know that they are going to get something every month, and that is where dreaming happens. Now my child can go to school, now I can buy the uniforms, now I can do this because they are getting that consistency of income. So we think about what do we have to do that people can count on it and not it based on the variation of it's seasonal. Our bicycle basket we thought was seasonal, but it's turned out not to be seasonal because it becomes Christmas Day. We sell a lot of bicycle basket in December because people buy it for spring. So all year out we do that. And so that's what we continue to, but I'm just using that as an example. We also sell soaps, and now we're looking at what forms we can do it to help people. So we are continuously thinking. We're right now on our second generation bike basket that is not completely done yet. So I can't share yet. I'm still bugging my husband to help me. He works for nothing. So, and one more point. So we started with this bicycle basket, right? And the artisans came out with other shapes and sizes. So we have this cool one, which is a pot. Because traditionally they made pot baskets, so now we have the pot bike basket, which is what Anthropology sells. And then they came out with the square ones, and now they are coming out with other ones that they want to show me. So the thing is that if you allow people to create, and you don't penalize them for their mistakes, you'll be amazed at the creativity levels at which they bring. So every year, every month, if something occurs to them, they should make 3 of them. I don't want 100 baskets that I can sell or ideas. So I give them 3 so that I can know that consistently they can create this. And then I test it, and if it works, we sell it. If not, it was an idea that we worked on, and they love it. They love the fact that they are continuously looking through themselves to see what it is that we can create too. It makes them excited that they can create things. And also I bring that to market and say, we cannot make this specific color for you because it's not paint. We can get somewhere close, and that is what you sell to your clients, so that we don't make the artisan ineffective because we've gone out and agreed to things that is not possible for them to make. So that is a short answer to a long question.
So do you, when you're developing the products and you give them the $200 and they start the process,
Yes.
then you move into the insurance portion of what you're doing and the health insurance and all of that. When you said that they move out of it, is it because they've got a sustainable income that they take on their own insurance?
Yes.
And you then supplement another group
Yes.
as you grow?
Yes.
So it kind of continually feeds itself?
The first part was the most difficult because I had to kind of buy insurance for everybody, which I thought was going to send me bankrupt. But now it's kind of people easing out and people coming in. And that is a thought process, but it's kind of an honor system.
Sure.
People have to, I'm not going to push people out because it's like 1 year is out. It is, am I in a good place that I can move out, that somebody can come in?
But that kind of stays
Yes.
a fixed number of people that you're supplying insurance to because you've got more coming in and more of the same moving out. Is that kind of how you built it?
So what is this is that, some people have children, so we buy for them. And then there are more people who want to join the group, who wanted to join the group. Some we are now kind of vetting them to join it. But the community, because it took us so long for us to come to the bicycle basket, the ones that didn't work, they were not too eager to have people joining them. Also, now that the market was opening up, they wanted to make substantive money before other people came in and diluted it. Because if you have 1,000 basket and now you have 1,000 people, you're making 1 each, right? Now if you have 2,000, you can make 2. And so if you go and bring in about 2,000, they are still stuck at 1. And so we don't have a lot of people moving in yet, and just a few people. actually it's been a year and a half. I didn't let them know that I wasn't going to pay the health insurance until I thought about it. So actually it's going to be 2 years that they're going to be on.
Okay.
But some people have already gone off, like a few, I'll say 10 people have moved on, and then other people, I am going to meet them when I go in February.
Okay.
And then I talk to everybody before they join the group because I want to know what their dreams are. And I want to, let them know that I used to sell bread. I used to work barefoot like you. I used to go to the stream, but it requires hard work. Things are not going to happen. You have to put in the work. And it does make a difference, especially being a woman, they call me a girl. But being a woman, for the girls to also see that in a patrilineal society, we are not lesser of a human being, but we can all go out and do great things. So it's all sorts of things we do other than self-stuff. Because until the person see for themselves that they can do well, no amount of money I put in a community is going to make a difference. People have to see themselves getting there, and then they create that momentum to get there. I'm just an enabler. So I can create a bridge, but if people don't want to cross it because they have fear of height or the water, then there's nothing really I can do. So there's a lot of talking, that we do, I do. And they have asked me a lot of questions too when I'm there. How did you learn to speak English so well? By reading? By reading out loud?
Do you have a secret when you're thinking? Because it seems like, I will tell you, it seems like ideas pour out of you.
Yeah.
Your problem is probably keeping them from pouring out of you, right?
Yeah.
But when you get stuck, do you have a secret that you do that helps people, that helps you kind of unstick and get?
Oh, I get stuck several times a day. There's wire transfers, which might get lost. There's logistics, shipping, and all that. And then there's just a slow pace of things. When you're in the US, things go like that. But when you're working there, everything, just to get the basket from the village, I have to buy a motorcycle with a car on the back, and so that they can get it, go to the communities and get it when it's wet. I mean, it's like you are always solving problems. So what I do is I walk around the house talking about the things I need to solve. And then my husband will chip in, oh, that's not going to work. Have you thought about this? So our house is kind of crazy. My husband internalizes things when I speak aloud. And so when I get stuck, I tell myself that I'm not the only person that has ever shit. There must be somebody there that can help me. And so the way I think of it is that somebody somewhere might have solved the problem. How do I find them? Like the toilets that I'm going to build. I've been talking to everybody I meet, and someone says, oh, I think the Bill Gates Foundation is doing something in Washington State, where they're putting it down. Oh, okay, I need to go and find out how they did it. So I feel like if I've thought about it, someone has done it, I just need to find them and convince them to do it.
How did you get your initial investment?
My 401k, so I have no retirement money. One, the reason why I did this is that before I started, the fair trade market is quite saturated, and I wasn't going to do it the way it is done. And so I did it. I knew in my heart that it was going to work, but I couldn't prove it on paper that it was going to work. I did show my financials, and I took it to the bank, and it said it's just a higher risk. Politically it's higher risk. I mean, there are all sorts of things that could go wrong, and so I couldn't get that loan. And then I thought, this is something I've wanted to do for so long. Why don't I invest in my dream? And the way to do it so that everybody is fine is take my 401k, because there is that desire that I'm going to need to retire. And so that is a motivation for it to make it work. Then my family also, I don't have to put my family in jeopardy because I had this wild dream that I'm going to follow, And so that, I remember walking on Nicollet Mall, and I walk a lot when I'm stuck. And I'm thinking, this is so crazy, but it seems so right to me. And so that is what I did. I paid a high penalty on that, but it gave me that peace of mind to say, it is going to work. And also because it's your money, and you don't have a lot of it, you think through things. Like, this that I'm going to do, what is it going to yield? And so I've done a lot of things myself. The people that I work with are people who are really committed to doing it, so we don't have a huge overcost from being able to make a lot of gains. And I'm hoping that by next year, I'll open a retirement account and start paying into it. But I do not regret it. It's been, my stress, it just reduced my stress. All of a sudden, I felt freed because now there was nothing holding me back. I have this, and I was just going to do something with it. But you're not supposed to do that. They tell you business, you're not supposed to do it. But also I realized that because I put in all my 401k, when I went to QBP to ask them what I do, sell my bicycle, I practically went to the owner and said, hey, you have this idea, do you think you can sell it? You know, bought me dinner and all that, gave me some advice, and actually remains my mentor. And he says, yes, but capital, how are you going to do it? And so, well, I use all my 401k, but we can do it in stages for you. He wrote me a check for $25,000, no interest, and says, do the order for us. And then, I don't know, we can either they pay back or, I don't remember what it is, but we paid it all within 5 months. But I think because of the commitment that I had taken my money, he felt that need to help me grow. And to this day, Quality Bicycle Products is our highest selling distributor. And they pay me, as soon as I put about the basket, they pay me immediately because they know I need it. So but a lot of people, I have gotten a lot of people willing to help because I think they see the commitment that this is not just another helping the poor project. It means a lot to me. It means, for me, it is everybody I left behind that didn't get the opportunity that I have. Maybe I can right it a little bit. That little injustice, I can right it. And it's not necessarily my village, but I'm doing it elsewhere. So.
How many people do you employ, Kate? Do you know how many people roughly work for you now as far as?
Yes, about 1,500.
Okay.
Yes. We started with 5.
Wow.
Year 1.
5 people?
Wow.
Yes, 5. Because I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I called my mom and like, I got together, I'm like, gosh, now who is poverty? I mean, if you want to help the poor, poverty is relative, right? Because I was feeling poor too. Yeah. My husband, my mom was like, why don't you go where the poor live? You know, so it's like chiseling. You kind of have an idea of the sculpture you want to build, but you don't know whether to take the leg first or the arm first. But as you keep moving, I think there's magic in movement. All of a sudden, because you're solving this puzzle, this one becomes easier to fit into that piece, and that is how things have happened. But if I sit down and start thinking, then I'm not doing anything. But once you get moving, it's almost magical. I mean, I keep using that word, but all sorts of people show up, crate and barrel. I was minding my own business when he showed up. I said, I can do it. I can do it. So that is how things have happened.
Do all the products come to you just and you ship them out just for quality control?
Yes.
And,
I have somebody in Ghana for quality control, and now I kind of get a sense of what I am going to show them. So I'm taking 2 different things and I'm going to say, this is what I'm looking for and this is what I don't want. Because we have a system of quality control, this is what you do, all of that. But sometimes I think they miss it. And so we are small and I don't want one little product to get it out of the market. So I inspect every single basket. And after I'm done, I have someone else inspect it to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So now that is, after doing that, that is what I'm going to take to them. And so we don't have any return. We've never had a single return. Because I will never put something out there that I have a question mark on. And if I have a question mark, I put it in my suitcase and take it back to Ghana and say, I am not all that nice, you know. So I am the lady that wants to help, but I would not, I will not compromise on value and quality and all of that. And I think when you ask people for excellence, the rest do it, because there is some joy in living at a level of excellence rather than mediocrity. So they love it. They love that the product they do is so beautiful that they don't want to part with it. I inspect everything. Yeah, I do. And not just me, I have someone else look at it. So we have never had a return. And I want to keep it that way.
So what do you need, let's just say from here on, do you desire to have more places that sell your products?
Yes.
Do you, what form does that come in? Does that come in,
Yeah.
if I know a retailer, I could say, hey, I know this company that sells some really cool stuff. Is that how you do it? Okay.
I think all of us, and I'm going to get all of you business card, is that it is a dynamic. It's kind of like the human being keeps growing. So I'm continuously looking for help and also to help others. I actually get much energy helping people, and I found out. I noticed it. It dawned on me when I worked at a hotel. It was a very stressful job, but I realized that just taking care of people just gave me so much fun. And so I'm learning not to just sign up for everything, but I also want to be of help to people. Again, yes, I need help. I need people knowing that I'm there to come and shop, buy stuff, so I can hire more people to help me so we can do big things, because a lot of people want my help, but I have to say that I can't take on any more people, otherwise it's going to fall apart. 1,500 is a lot. So,
Awesome.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, just quickly, I want to know some of the sort of initial obstacles you had when you were trying to create partnerships. Like you said, Creative Barrel came to you, but before you had sort of the notoriety, how did you kind of overcome?
So I went to University of St. Helens, and I have an office there in the incubator. That helped a lot, that I had an address, because people don't want to do business with you in your house. And that, I think, helped me quite a bit. And then what I did was I went to craft shows to kind of get a sense of what people thought of my product, because I didn't know how to get in there. That was grueling. And you didn't want it to the rain, you didn't want the wind, you didn't want, And then I started, before I went to Ghana, I needed some assurance that someone was going to buy the stuff. So I would walk up and down Grand, because I thought that is where my market, my target market is. And then I gathered the courage and went into the Bibelo, and I said, hey, can I speak to the owner? The owner says, do you have an appointment? I'm like, no. No, I don't know what possessed me to think I can just walk in the shop and ask to talk to the owner. And so I'm standing there, and she says, here's the phone number, but she's very busy. And I called her. I went outside and called, and I said, oh, this is Kate, and I just need 5 minutes of your time. So it's okay if you can be here within 5 minutes. And I didn't ask her where she was, so I had to go back and ask the same woman who told me that she was busy and I don't think she was going to be happy. Then I saw somebody come through the back door carrying stuff, and I said, hey, I need to go see the Roxy. She said I should be there in 5 minutes. Could you take me to her? I said, oh, sure, follow me. So then we took, I think it's a house, so it's a historic building attached to the Bibelo. So we went there, and I did my quick presentation. I don't have a product, but this is what I want to do, and will you sell my stuff? What will you be selling? Well, maybe jewelry, soap, something that poor make. Says, I want basket. No, I'm not going to sell the basket. It's just be too much to ship. So here I am, kind of like, it's just, okay, here, I promise you when you come back, let me know and let's see how we can help you. So that is what gave me, what I needed to say, this is going to work. That is how it works. Americans don't do that. This is me as a Ghanaian. So what I've also done is do things that work for me as a person and not try to be someone else. So that happened, and then I went to QBP with the bicycle idea because we already had the product, and said, would you sell it? And I didn't realize they had like 6,000 distributorship. And they said yes. So that is what I did, and then I did it very well. And so when that happened and they distributed it, it went into a shop on Tribeca in New York, and then somebody in New York Times who is into weaving saw it and picked that specific basket and says, now this is how weaving should be done. And that is how Providence moved in. So I kind of prepared myself at a big stage so that when it happened, I wasn't caught short. So our branding is done professionally. I paid money for things like that. So I didn't cut corners on, okay, I don't have money, so I'm not going to be doing this. So to be selling this, our website, the messaging, all the face of the business looks like where we intend to be. And we put a lot of investment in that. And by doing that, when people showed up, we were ready to go. So Freedom Barrel, we had a story, the tags went with it, and the names. So
Talk about an inspiration for us
All
all.
right.
Everyone, wow.
Thank you very much.